Alright, so we are getting ready to replace this steering gearbox. If you saw my other video, it was like an update. I was gonna have them together, but it ran for like 10 minutes when I introduced the Can-Am and everything I've done to it. So I didn't want to make it any longer, so I cut it into two parts. We're gonna be installing the Easy Steer power steering from Super Atv, and I had mentioned they do give some pretty good instructions. They're colored instructions, so not everyone does that, and it tells you everything that comes with it and how to get started. I'm gonna do it a little differently. This is the dash panel that on my other video I mentioned I wasn't gonna take off, because in order to get to that I have to remove my light bar and my windshield just to get this panel off. I'm hoping I don't have to take it off. If I do end up needing to take it off, I'll do it, but we're gonna attempt without it. And let's see, the reason for that is because I was able to remove the side panel, and it's pretty easy to remove. Kind of went over the screws it has, probably like 10 screws, and then we get all this opened up where I feel like I think we should have enough space. The only thing that it might be is maybe some screws in the area back here, but I won't know till I get into it. But we'll attempt it this way. And I'll set up the camera, so I'll kind of walk you guys through what I'm doing, and I'll try and make this short. Alright, so we're gonna get started with it says to disconnect the harness from the cluster. I'll probably get to it, but to start off I'll remove this one and that one that is showing there. This one's an Allen wrench, goes right there, and the back nut is covered with this little cover. I kind of pried it loose a little bit with a flathead. So it's a size 10 nut on the back. And where's that other one that it mentioned? Behind the motor. I'm guessing that one. Oh no, it's from the steering. Okay, it's saying to remove this one. This nut here. So we got those taken care of. Now I'm gonna work on the tachometer, or I don't know what they call it, but it's two T30s to remove the back plate here. So we'll work on that. And yours might differ if you have a RR, as I have the, oh, it has a bolt underneath. Mine's a Turbo R. It's a 2021 72 inch. So it has this smaller dash. So I fully released this. Now I have to remove 4 T20s. And there's your plug. Has that little safety pin. And it's off. Throw it on the passenger side. If you didn't know, you could purchase a RR piece or screen tachometer, and if you purchase it, it'll come with the bracket, and you can, it's the same plug. It'll work the same way. So now we got that off. And luckily I do see that I have access to 2 of the bolts I need to remove. So we'll probably work on that next. So I did already. It's hard to get the camera in there because my hand's in there all the time, so I didn't record it. But this is your screw that you have to remove, size 13. That one was in, let's see, in this section here, and then the other one's gonna be right across it. So what I'm gonna do is, I can feel it with my finger. I'll go ahead and put my socket right on top of it, and then I'll connect my ratchet to it. But if you didn't have a windshield or a cage that, actually the cage shouldn't be too much of a problem. But if you don't have the windshield and it's easy to remove, or if you do have one and it's easy to remove, just go that route. I'm just doing this just because like I said, I had mentioned. But I planted my socket right on top of the nut. Now I'm just gonna remove it. I won't record it just because you just see my hand. You won't really see much, but luckily it's a short bolt and it's easy to remove. So let me remove that. So my next step will be to remove this bolt here, bolt and nut. The space isn't that great in there, but I'll get it removed. It doesn't seem too complicated. And then after I remove that one, we're gonna remove this boot here. And it doesn't look like a boot back here, but I'll show you where it comes out to. And it looks like it's held on by some plastic push pins. So we'll get those off. And it's the one that comes over here to your steering rack. We'll cut this zip tie off and then remove it completely. You can kind of see them sticking out here where it's grabbed on. So I have it completely removed. This was it, size 13 on both sides. And then I'm gonna work on getting those off. This should be pretty straightforward. I don't think you need to see me removing them, but I think it's 4 of them. I was looking for my tool to remove them, but I don't have one, so I'm gonna just try and get them with the flathead. So I removed all 4. Luckily I was able to find my lovely piece here. It's been through a lot. The one I struggled the most with was the top one on the right side, just because I couldn't really get a screwdriver in there. And now I'm just gonna cut the zip tie here. Don't worry, this is all replaceable. It's just a boot to protect this area here, so it's not a big deal. And then I'll just slide this back a little bit like so. And I think our next step would be to remove the steering wheel nut. And then we'll start working on all this. Let me remove the steering wheel nut. And to access that, you have to pop this plate off. So all you need is a flathead. Let me get to it. So we'll get our flathead and kind of pry it out here. You see it pop off. And it's just this. You'll see your steering wheel nut in there. And I'll tell you guys the size. Not a 22, it's a 24. And if you have a power impact, this will make it a lot easier. I don't know if it says to remove the steering wheel. I'll keep it on there until I see that it tells me to remove it. I guess I do have to remove it. So if you're doing this, I recommend that you keep the steering wheel bolted on, and you start off by removing the, well, by I mean bolted on is when I remove this piece here, my steering wheel now moves up and down. There's nothing holding it in place. If I was to remove this while everything was in place, it'd be a lot easier. So now I'm gonna have to work it out and then struggle with it moving upwards and downwards. I've removed it before, so I don't think it's a big deal, but sometimes they can be on there pretty tight. So let me get in here. Actually, I'm gonna put the bolt on a little bit just so if I release it and I pull, it doesn't like hit me in the face. So all you really want to do is kind of shake it a little bit and then you pull. Whew, it does get tiring. This is how I've done it before. Right now I'm struggling with it moving up and down. Actually, let me I'm gonna put this here just to kind of hold it in place for me a little bit. I can get this done. There we go. Whew. So it takes a few of those. You pretty much just muscle it out, unless you have a tool that will help you. I'm gonna keep the nut in the steering wheel. If you have a tool to press the steering wheel out, that works. So now let's remove this again. There we go. This should be loose again. So the next step is to remove this bolt and nut right on behind it. Same on this side. There's a bolt on this side and a nut right there. They're both size 13s. So let me remove those and then I'll get back on camera. Alright, so I removed the both screws from there, and then it says this should just slide off, but or actually it won't slide off because there's a like a C-clamp type thing. Let me get my little pliers I have and let's try and get that little ring off. So you probably won't be able to see much, but Harbor Freight tools, not the best, but it'll get the job done. And let's put, has two little holes on there if you ever removed one of these. Kinda gotta open it. And this is it. And that should let us remove this whole part. So, oops. We got this part off, and what I'm gonna do, I dislike forgetting where my screws go once I remove them. It does happen, we forget. Luckily I'm recording, so I can always remember. So I'm just gonna put them here just as a reminder of where these ones go. I do know I'm gonna be reusing this part. This part that I removed. This whole assembly with the shafts is gonna get replaced. Alright, so the next few steps, it doesn't really tell you, but from what I can see, they go ahead and undo the actual steering gearbox with some bolts back here. And I think this one, this shaft here, should be able to come off already. So I'm gonna try and see if we can get it off. There we go. Just pulled it a little bit and it came right off. So the new kit we're using comes with a new set of these. So I'll just keep these nearby. It's really dirty. So now we should be okay to loosen the bolts to this. And for the steering gearbox, it looks like it's 3 of them. Let me just confirm that they are 13s. And they are. So let me show you where they're at. They're right in here. I can get my hand in there. There's one down here, and one across from it. So 3 of those, and then I see 1, 2, 3, 3 more holding the actual mount. So let me start getting this plug off. I probably missed this step. I think it was on there earlier. What is this? Oh, I see it. Okay. Got that unplugged. This plug we won't be using anymore because it has a standalone ECU. And let's get it unmounted. Let me go ahead and get these 3 off, and then I'll get back on camera. I know you can't really see much, but I got all 3 of them removed. And now I'm trying to pry off this part here. It's one of the shafts, steering shafts. And what I'm doing is putting a screwdriver there so I can kind of slide off, and we got it off. And they never mentioned on the instructions to remove the bolt holding this shaft in place, but I'm gonna go ahead and loosen it up as well. Let's get this boot up. Let me show you guys. And I also need to remove this brace, I believe. This one here. But there's the bolt there in order to remove this shaft. So we're making progress. Before I get to the shaft down there, I'm actually just gonna go ahead and remove these 3 bolts you see there. And those are also the 2 bolts that I loosened up over here. It only said to loosen them up, so they're loosed up there, and I'll remove these 3 here. So with the impact, I was able to remove all those 3. Luckily, the impact fits good in there, so I'll save you some wrist action. My next step is to loosen up. Well, they're already loosened, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove them. Come all apart. And sure enough, here's that part. So the top piece here uses 4. This one comes with a bolt and a nut underneath, and these are studs welded in. And then this side is 3, and those studs are welded in. right. So the next part I'm gonna do before I start getting things put together is remove the bolt from that shaft so I can remove that shaft completely. So right now what I'm doing is trying to remove, I got the bolt off. So now I gotta kind of pry it off a little bit. But let me find an older flathead screwdriver. So I don't know if you can see, but it has a little crease here. I'm just gonna tap a flathead in there. To kind of get the teeth released. There we go. So something like this. Just to get the teeth to release in there. So take back the instructions. It did tell me to loosen the lower shaft. It's here in the picture. I must have missed it because I saw the remove boot, but I didn't see this part. And it was when I went ahead and removed the steering wheel. So far we are in this section here. I guess if you have a older model, 27 or 2018, you have to drill some plate or some holes in this section here to accommodate the bracket for the new steering gearbox. Since I have a 2021, I can skip this, and here's the template you use to drill the holes. So at the end result, if you have a 2017 or 2018 and you're doing this, this is how it's gonna look, because you're gonna need 3 extra holes. But we'll skip through that. And now it's telling me to insert my drive shaft, the new ones. So what I'm doing right now is unboxing everything. Here's my wiring kit, my ECU, ECM, not sure. My different brackets, and the motor itself. It comes with some hardware, and here are the shafts. And it comes with its own bolts. So everything's looking good. So I'm currently working on, this was marked, and then this has a mark over here. It was 1 teeth below, so it wasn't fully straight on. So we'll try and match that right now. So this part may be unnecessary, but just so that I'm in the ballpark, I went ahead and marked it. I went off of the teeth. So there's 1, 2, 3. And it looks like it's in between the teeth there. So 2 teeth and a half. And that's how I marked it here, 2 teeth and a half. It may be unnecessary, but at least we have that there. The rears don't have any marking, so I guess we're just gonna go off of whatever it's already set at. This one does have a point there. That's weird. The instructions don't mention anything about lining up, but I guess I kept my wheel straight, and I guess we'll just get it all straight with the steering wheel if this doesn't work out. And then worst case, we just do an alignment. I'm about to, so I just cleaned this up with some soap and a brush, just a little bit. And I'm gonna add a thin layer of grease and then put my shaft on. Doesn't say to put grease or anything. It's just, it's kind of exposed, and the grease adds a little layer of protection so it doesn't rust out or anything. Alright, so this is how it was when I removed it. I know the line doesn't match up, but that's the way it was. That's the way I'm gonna place it. And I have the bolt right here goes here and it's already tapped for it, so it's not gonna use a nut on the backside. If it was to give me any problems, I'll probably just get a bigger bolt and a nut on the back. So what I'm doing right now is I'm gonna set up the ECM. So it's telling me to grab this bracket, and let's figure out what bolts it's asking me to get. I'm gonna grab my clamps. They come with 2 Allen head screws that hold them together. So let me get my Allen here, and let's open these up. All I'm doing is removing these clamps here. Not that it's necessary right now, but it will be. And then it's saying that it's gonna go like this. All right, so with all the writing we do and stuff, that's why I like using the Loctite. Too many vibrations and things can come loose at any time. Just putting this back out, something like that. Let's get the other one ready. So you're gonna need 4 of the longer ones, and let's set these up as well. This bolt might be defective. It doesn't really want to latch on. The other one latched on just fine. Let's switch to a different bolt. That one doesn't want to go in either way. Let's try our last one. So 2 of them went in just fine, and the other 2 we might need to force in just a little bit. There you go. So just so you know, it did say to tighten the bolts for the computer here and to leave these loosed. So we'll tighten at the end. So it kind of gives you a straightforward picture of where that goes, and I'll show you on the actual Can-Am. So the clamps will go here on the bottom piece, 2 clamps, and your computer will sit up here. And I'll go ahead and place it. I don't have a lot of room here to put the camera and not be in the way, but I'll show you as soon as I mount it on there. So fairly quickly I was able to put these in. There is a plastic behind it. You kind of have to push them in to get them in position. So eventually it'll clamp like this, and I'm gonna get the clamps placed, or the bolts, but I'm not sure if I have to slide it in or out as I mount the steering gearbox. So we'll keep going at it. Alright, so I'm doing some troubleshooting just because mine's a 2021. I'm not sure when the instructions were made, but I can tell you right now there's been some changes. So there's a year where you will use this bracket and it would go here like this, but this wasn't there. I guess it's a different design. That's the only thing I can think of, because I can see the bolts where that bracket used to mount to. They fit there. Well, of course on this side, but there's this plate now welded in, kind of reinforced a little bit, and then if that bracket wasn't there, I'd be able to just to bolt this on there and bolt the motor to here. But that's changed. I can no longer do that. I think Super ATV is gonna probably have to update their instructions. What I have to do is I'm actually gonna have to drill with this. This is just a drill plate. That's like a template, just so you drill your holes correctly. So I'll bolt it on here and drill, and then my motor will mount to here, to this plate. So kind of like back in the 2018s and prior. And I know that because this is this part, and you can see the mount, this mount like this. So I used to be able just to mount there. That's no longer the case. I'll probably shoot them an email to make them aware. But luckily we still can make the drill plate. So this would have been how it would have been mounted. You see how it's open there. They have since closed it up on 2021. Not sure what year it happened, but it's closed up. This is welded. I could undo this, unweld, but I think it's easier just to do some new holes and go that route. This part is reinforced, so if something was to happen, this probably, if it's unable to carry the weight, I don't think it's much different. It will mount the same way as I took it off. This would be the second option. I'll cut these and try and remove this plate and bolt it on. That's just in case it was to fail. I doubt it will, but we'll do our holes, make sure the mount will correlate with the holes I'm gonna make, and we will skip this plate, so we'll keep it around in the future. Let me make those holes and I'll show you the end result. I'm currently making sure that this is the position. I mounted the motor and it's kind of gonna go, once it sits, it's gonna go kind of angled upwards. But to confirm, I placed this plate in here, and if you can see, there's a hole here, there's another one here, and one on the bottom, and those kind of correlate with the positions I need. I was only able to fit this bracket one way to match these holes, so I'm pretty confident this is the way. I'll go ahead and start drilling this, and I'll be I drilled all 3 holes, and I threw a little bit of paint on the where I drilled the holes just so it doesn't rust out eventually. And I have it here sitting in the sun for a quick dry. It's not the greatest paint job. The objective here is just to not have the bare metal. Just cleared up the spot here, cleaned it up. This is where I'm gonna mount the bracket that holds the steering wheel. As soon as it dries, I'll place it on. So I went ahead and put the bracket back on, and I just put the bolts or the nuts on there. They're not tightened up yet, but I'm thinking of going ahead and, since I have the clearance here, to put these 2 bolts back on, and those are these 2 right here. So I'll probably get them started and then tighten them up later on. So far I went ahead and installed these screws here. It was a pain in the butt, but I was able to get a little bit more clearance. This plastic here goes in through here, and it gets held on by a screw here and a screw here. So I was able to remove that, get a little bit more clearance. I was really struggling because I couldn't get it to line up, but once I was able to get a better view in there, I got it to go. I have 2 of these on there, just need 1 more there, and I placed these 2, but they're not on there tight yet. So they're on there, just not super tight. And right now what we're gonna do is probably install the power steering already. Get it in there. I got the gear, steering gear here. And so I was trying to get it on camera, but it's gonna go like this. Let me place it because I kind of need to be in the area where the camera is to capture this. So it's 3 screws. Let me put them on and I'll show you how I did it. I have it in place right now. The 3 bolts, they're not tightened up yet. There's the holes that I drilled. That's the ones I'm using, and it sits weird, but on the pictures I saw, the power steering gearbox kind of sits angled. On the original it sat flat with this section in here, but maybe it's a little bit bigger. It does seem bigger, so I think that's why it's slanted in a way. But my next step, I believe, is to hook up the shaft in the rear. I'll hook it up there, but now's the time to put your boot through here, because this is what covers that hole down there. So we'll get that pulled on, and then I'll put that shaft back in. So we got this mounted. It took me a little bit to align the teeth, but I got it on. I did have to remove this. I'll loosen it up a little bit more to be able to get it into there. And then these kind of fell out. It's like some type of spacer or something that goes in there, but that's how they go. Has a little plastic or whatever, and then the metal spacer in the inside. And what I'm working on now is gonna be working on placing this one. The original comes greased in this section. This section is the one that goes in between here, and it sticks out like that. So we're gonna apply some grease here. Here's the original, so you guys can see that I am not lying. I'm just kidding. But there it is. It even has some O-rings in there. So not sure if it was grease or something else. Maybe it was grease. You can kind of see it there. But we'll grease this one up. It doesn't, I don't think it says it on the instructions. I'll go over them. Oh, but this one also has some O-rings there. And just a heads up, you may run into this as well. I kind of broke that plastic piece there trying to put the snap ring in, and it wasn't clearing. So I put a towel here and I tapped it a few times with the hammer just to get enough clearance to where I could put that snap ring on. So we got it on. I'm gonna place it on there and I'll show you when I'm done. It's looking pretty good. I got it set up already. I got this one over here. I just have to probably bring it in a little bit more and put the bolt in there before I forget, and then that way at the end I can get them tightened up. Where we're at, I just installed the little thing that brings the steering wheel up and down, and it's just that little Allen head with the little protector there. And before I put the dash and anything, I have to make sure those screws are tightened up, because it'll be too late to tighten it once I put that on. But I think from here I'm gonna put the steering wheel on and make sure everything is good, and then we'll start working on the wiring. Actually, what I'm gonna do is tighten up the bolts now. That way when I put the dashboard, I can align the steering wheel with the dash. There's a little piece on the steering wheel, that here, that piece there, and you can use this piece here. As long as it all aligns, we should be straight. And then we'll make some adjustments if need to be with some alignments. So I'm gonna tighten these, tighten all the ones for the shaft, tighten the steering gear. I'm getting ready to connect all this back, and connection goes here, and then my 4 T20s, I believe, and then at the end, those two right there, and then I'll put the steering wheel on. Got the dash back on. Now I'm gonna, it lines up well because I think it's centered on that tooth already. There. So if you can tell there, centered. I just have to push it in a little bit more, probably tap it a few times, and then I'll put the nut back in there. Got everything tightened up. We got the nut right there. Now it's time to work on the wiring. So this one comes with a few wires there, and the computer sits back here. Let's see where they go. So this one's pretty easy. It looks like you'll go up onto this one. Heard it click. And this one looks like you'll fit here, but it doesn't. So maybe I'll go on the furthest one over here. So you can see my hand. Yep. You have to hear it click in place. So wire is good there. This one's a little bit longer. I'll probably zip tie it. And let me grab our harness. So here's the wiring. Positive and negative will go all the way back to the battery. The blue wire I'll probably just cap off or something. It's not used per the instructions. And your white one, it has a white wire. That one will go to the accessory here in the bus in the middle. So this would be my accessory, white wire. Let's see. And then I have 2 plugs here with a fuse, and these go directly onto here. So one goes there, one goes up here. So, and we'll be pretty much done. I'll kind of walk you through the wiring, and you can tuck it, you know, the whatever way you want. But I'll clean my wiring here and start working it into that way over there. And it has a diagnostic light there. I did see it. Where did I see it? Oh, there it is, near the plugs. Right there. And before I forget, remember this connection, I have to seal it off, cap it off. I'm not gonna cut it, just in case one day I want to go back to stock. It's important to just cover it. Those wires are still running power, so it's really important to just cover it, keep it out of the water. So tuck it in up the highest you can get it, just in case. And that should be good to keep it waterproof. I think we're pretty much there. I have to tighten the steering wheel, but everything's on already. Everything else is tightened up. Just have to get the wiring done. So let me work on the wiring. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'll pretty much just make the video longer if I was to keep you watching. But here, white wire into stock terminal block. So here's the bus right here, and that's what the one we're gonna connect that one to. But I will run it all the way to the back to the battery, the positive and negative. You won't have to worry about the fuse here anymore. It has the burnt one on there. I'm gonna leave it burnt. It just goes tucked into one of those slots, and the cover is somewhere. But let me get the seat removed and we'll start wiring. So I'm here doing the wiring. The white one has perfect fitment. I believe the wiring was made for a 2-seater, so I'm adding some extra wiring. I didn't have the same gauge, so I'm gonna try it with this one. It's almost there, but if you can see, it's a little smaller gauge. I think we'll be okay. If I have any problems, I'll do the proper gauging. And my battery is down there. I got the bench seat. So what I do is I remove the screws that latch onto the base. I throw a jack stand right under it just to get some clearance back there, and I'll run my wires all the way back. And I believe I have some of this stuff to cover the wiring, and it did come with these, so I'll add these at the end. That way I don't have to replace them, because I don't think I have these for the battery. But we're getting there. Enough truth. So I got the wires. I haven't put anything back. Just wired it just to test it out. And let's see. And I haven't even tightened this bolt down. Let's see if we can hand tighten. I'm gonna take it for a spin. And it seems like it's working. Like it's working. The steering wheel, from what I recall, it seems like it's a little better. One hand turning, and keep in mind I run 35s. It almost feels like an actual car. So I just have to zip tie all the wires and get it a little cleaner. There's my wiring setup. Got it all the way to the battery, and here's the white wire and negative and positive. So let me put it all back together. We did it. So this is how I capped it. I just wrapped it in electrical tape, and then I don't know what this tape is called, but only it's not super sticky and it sticks to itself only. And then I'll just zip tie it up here and we should be good. It sits pretty high. All of these connections are pretty high. I actually have to zip tie these as well, but we got it done. I'm putting the seats back together, and it's a finished product. And this is the end of it. Hopefully this video helps you guys, or at least gives you some information on how to install this if you ever need to install it. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out my little sticker I bought. Thought it was funny. And if you catch me in Glamis, say hello. I'll be giving out some free stickers of my new logo, and just come say what's up. I'll be there for 4 days if you catch me out there.